Not a lot of people like Dragon Ball GT. In fact, a lot of people spend their time bashing GT for its flaws and a horrible story. However, GT and Super might not be that far apart when in terms of comparison. Now, I am not a fan of GT at all, and I dislike it for everything that it represents. Many fans look upon the failures that GT left behind and prefer not to even acknowledge its existence. While Dragon Ball Super might not sit well with some fans either, today we're going to be discussing if Dragon Ball Super is superior to Dragon Ball GT, or if Dragon Ball GT is better than Dragon Ball Super. But before we begin, we have to say that we're focusing on a series that is canon, such as Dragon Ball Super, and comparing it to a series like Dragon Ball GT, which is non-canon, meaning Akira Toriyama, the author of Dragon Ball, had no involvement with the anime's creation. Plus, there is no manga for GT because it was made outside of Toriyama's supervision. We do need to acknowledge that Toriyama did, however, create character designs for GT and assisted in some character concepts. However, he isn't as involved as he is now, for example, with Dragon Ball Super, where he works closely with Toitaro on the Dragon Ball Super manga. Now, as stated before, Dragon Ball GT is a non-canon series. So for the sake of this debate, we will be comparing characters that are canon and characters that are not canon. Dragon Ball GT sucks, as stated by millions of fans. But why? Why is GT so damn bad? We're gonna start off with the basics. Dragon Ball GT's story, okay? Dragon Ball GT is based right after the Majin Buu arc, where Goku is transformed into a child, and as a result, the Black Star Dragon Balls used by Pilaf that turned him into that child scattered across the universe. If Goku and company do not retrieve the Dragon Balls in time, the Earth will be destroyed in a year's time. What's obvious about GT is they're trying to revive the magic that was the original Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball was a lot different than Dragon Ball Z. They focused more on adventure, friendship, overcoming evil in a way that didn't involve screaming or blowing up islands or planets. Dragon Ball even focused heavily on martial arts and had a completely different take on it than what Dragon Ball Z displayed. Where GT went wrong was trying to be something that it was not. It was trying to bring back Dragon Ball. It was trying to be Dragon Ball so bad, but at the same time also tried to keep the aspects of Dragon Ball Z. And they are two completely different series. The jump of style from Dragon Ball to Dragon Ball Z are so unrelatable. It made the show a complete mess. The entire series was all over the place. Dragon Ball GT tried to appeal to the original Dragon Ball fans by making Goku younger and giving him a tail again, but that backfired completely. And to put into a simple sentence, you are not important if you are not Goku. This is what GT basically is all about. Goku kicking everyone's ass. Aside from the story trying to be something that it's not, Dragon Ball GT focused way too much on Goku, making him seen as this overpowered Saiyan that was holding back all the time. The majority of the series, Goku was seen in base form and treated most of his enemies as a joke. The other characters included in GT were of no relevance to the series. Pan and Oob were complete letdowns of what they were expected to be, and Piccolo was a pawn who was sacrificed whenever he was needed. Even the character designs such as the Shadow Dragons and Baby were completely lacking in creativity and just seemed so bland. Not to mention that Dragon Ball GT has so many plot holes, it completely makes Dragon Ball Z unrelatable. For example, why not use the old Dragon Balls to make Goku an adult? Or wish the other Dragon Balls back to Earth? Why not use the Dragon Balls of Namek? How did Vegeta feel the energy of a Tuffle if the Tuffles were eradicated before he was born? If the Dragon Balls brought everyone back to life who wasn't bad, how did Pilaf get revived? Why did Gohan have a hard time with Goten when his power should be on par, if not above, Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks? And finally, why would two Android 17s fuse through key synchronization if androids don't have ki? Let's not forget to mention that Cooler appears in the Super 17 saga, but his movie fits nowhere in the timeline. The list goes on and on. Every character outside of Goku himself is useless, and if you're not a villain to serve the purpose of being defeated, you're irrelevant to the series. But enough on GT's flaws. Let's go to Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super has been no stranger to criticism either. In fact, Dragon Ball Super also has its shares of plot holes, poor writing, and horrible focus on characters. The fact that the series is entirely focused on Goku and Vegeta, everyone else has been demoted to fodder level. Dragon Ball Super also takes place after the Majin Buu saga, similar to GT. It introduces the God of Destruction, Beerus. This opens up an entirely new world of gods, and Goku and Vegeta ascend to new heights. Dragon Ball Super suffers from horrible animation, and it also suffers from horrible writing. The reason is Dragon Ball Super only exists as a story to sell products and make money as a brand. It was rushed into production too fast, it follows a strict release schedule with its episodes, it lacks a narrative that gives the backstory to the characters that we know and we love. They also failed to acknowledge power scaling, and they completely screw power scaling to unbelievable heights. Dragon Ball GT did the same, but Super takes it to an entirely new level. So how can we decide which series is better if they both have flaws? They both have bad animation. GT also suffers from horrible animation in the past, and the issue with the animation process for all the Dragon Ball episodes are that different animators are hired to animate the series for a certain set of episodes at a time. A specific animator is locked in for a set of episodes, and so when another animator whose work is of a lesser or higher quality takes over, we can instantly see a major difference in quality when watching the episode. And Super suffers from that the most actually. It's the worst that it's been in any Dragon Ball series up to date. Dragon Ball Super also confusingly has two forms of canon. One being anime and the other its manga, currently being done by Totaro and Akira Toriyama. Now, for a series to have two forms of canon is extremely unorganized and creates issues when it comes to debates, such as which forms are canon, which forms are not canon, and how they are obtained. Drastic changes like these affect a fan base and divides it, but in the end, we can only ask ourselves which series is better. Is GT better than Dragon Ball Super? And the answer to that is obvious. Hell the no!